Overnight, protesters flooding the streets across Iran for the 14th night in a row. Masses gathering in Tehran, inundating the nation's capital as far as the eye can see. Crowds cheering around this bonfire, dancing around the flames. Chanting "Down with the dictator," blasting the regime over Iran's failing economy and soaring inflation. In this dramatic footage posted on social media, a man with what appears to be a homemade flamethrower sets a motorcyclist on fire. These protesters risking arrest and even death. The government trying to shut them down with a nationwide communications blackout, cutting off the internet, cell service, and phone lines. As a crackdown intensifies, President Trump escalating his warning to the Iranian regime.
And I tell the Iranian leaders, you better not start shooting, because we'll start shooting too.
Human rights groups say dozens of protesters have been killed and thousands more arrested. Trump clarifying his threat does not mean U.S. boots on the ground.
We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts.
This morning, Iran responding to those threats, warning that if the U.S. were to strike, the U.S. and Israel would be legitimate targets of the Islamic Republic. This comes just 1 week after the U.S. captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and Trump declared the U.S. is running the country. In a New York courtroom on Monday, the ousted leader and his wife pleading not guilty to drug and weapons charges. Maduro telling the judge he was kidnapped in Caracas. Now Trump is warning the U.S. could take similar action against Colombia and is threatening land strikes on drug cartels that he claims are running Mexico. In response, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum tasking her foreign minister with strengthening coordination with the United States. Trump pressed this week on whether there's any limits to his global powers.
Yeah, there's one thing, my own.
And we're learning from an Israeli official that Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke with Secretary of State Marco Rubio this long ago, where Trump promised that the U.S. would back Israeli strikes on Iran if Iran continues with its nuclear program. Gio.
So much to watch around the world. Selena Wang, thank you for your reporting.
Now to the growing unrest in Iran as the deadly protests nearing 2 weeks continue to spread. Demonstrators flooding the streets as the country's supreme leader threatens to expand the crackdown. President Trump is once again warning Iran's government and pledging his support.
Tonight, new images of the escalating violence gripping parts of Iran as tens of thousands flood the streets of Tehran and other cities calling for regime change. In this dramatic footage circulating online, a man with what appears to be a homemade flamethrower sets a motorcyclist on fire. They're only the latest images emerging of the chaos spreading in Iran. With pressure building, the country's leadership remains defiant as deaths mount in the streets. Aid groups say at least 65 people have been killed. The government imposing a communications blackout, cutting off the internet, cell phones, and landlines. Still, the protests that began 2 weeks ago have stretched into 13 straight days. People angry about severe inflation and a currency that has collapsed in value. Starting in the capital, then spreading to several other cities across the country, the protests have captured the world's attention, including the White House.
With Iran's supreme leader saying the tens of thousands of protesters are trying to please President Trump, while tonight, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah has called on